Hiya, my name is Poke King, but you can just call me King, and today you may be asking yourself, why in the fresh hell is King suddenly making a FNAF theory? Well, my dear viewer, I have recently reached the peak of my FNAF theorist career, even though it hasn't technically started yet. Don't know what I'm talking about? Well, that just means that you have to follow me on Twitter, obviously. No, but for real, on November 25th of 2023, I was just chilling and got a notification that Matpat had released a new FNAF video, and I was like, oh, time for more lore to be crammed into my brain. So I put it on as I do, and all of a sudden at the 20-minute mark, Matpat brings up these sticky notes that I actually remember talking about on my Ruin stream as well. And I remember seeing barely anyone bringing attention to these, and that was what Matpat was saying as well. And I thought, nice, I'm finally going to get some answers to this, because I also posted my findings with these sticky notes on the Game Theory subreddit, and a few folks commented on it, but nothing groundbreaking was found. Then I nearly pissed my pants, as I heard Matpat say my username, although he pronounced it wrong. It's okay, he gets a pass, and I saw my name up there in the video, along with a full explanation of my theory, even with Matpat highlighting lines of text I wrote and reading it out saying I was onto something. I felt my soul leave my body at that point, but I knew one thing. My theories are actually worth listening to, because clearly I semi-know what's going on in this franchise. So with Matpat, our one true god, blessing me as a theorist, I made the decision to actually use my platform to make a video on another theory I have been thinking of since Security Breach was torn to shreds. Today, I am going to be answering the questions about the retro CDs, or I should say trying to answer the questions about the retro CDs, or that this is my own personal opinion on what they are, because I know some folks in the FNAF community are already in my comments coming for blood. I also want to give a quick disclaimer that if you are coming into this video with zero FNAF knowledge, you might be lost. You will need to have a very basic understanding of the current lore from Security Breach to at least Ruin to fully understand what I'm talking about. So sadly, if you are new to FNAF lore, this might not be the best place to start. But without further ado, let's get into it, baby. So let's go over some context before we jump headfirst into this theory. If you don't know what the retro CDs are, basically they are a collection of audio recordings that you can find at the end of Security Breach, which seem to be therapy sessions with multiple therapists and Vanessa, and then the same therapist with some other entity that we will discuss later on. The recordings show Vanessa's descent into madness, being under the control of Glitchtrap or the Mimic. I see people shitting their pants over this constantly because apparently we can't have nice things in this fandom anymore, but anyways. And then another patient, known as Patient 46, acting kind of strange and ominous. You see, while Vanessa is called out by name often and speaks during these sessions, Patient 46 is never mentioned and never speaks, so it's impossible to tell who or what this patient is. And understanding the meaning and purpose of these CDs is what we will discuss today, as well as figuring out what exactly is Patient 46's deal. Now, with that being said, I'm going to introduce you to my theory about these CDs, which I am going to be calling the Westworld theory. So, if you don't know what Westworld is, let me give you a quick rundown. Westworld is an old movie turned to HBO TV show that follows the lives of humanoid AI robots that are used in a Western-styled theme park to create stories and experiences for human guests who come and visit. Each robot is designed to fit a certain character, storyline, and personality. But as the show goes on, these robots start to gain self-awareness and learn that they are in fact in a theme park and have been reused and recycled, and eventually try to escape. Why I bring this up is because when I watch Westworld, I can't help but see parallels with where FNAF is right now, with the AI storylines. Small spoilers here if you haven't seen Westworld, but as the seasons go on, it is discovered that one of the park's main visitors and contributors, William, yes, that is legit his name in the show, has been trying to make himself immortal using these robots. He has created robot copies of himself and worked with people who designed Westworld to try to put his consciousness inside of a robot, as he has had experiences with these robots that have made him realize that they learn and think on their own. However, the main reason I bring up Westworld here is actually because of a process shown on the show many times in which the human workers will ask the robot characters questions to gauge their responses. For example, when one of the main robots, Dolores, starts acting weird after her dad shows her a picture of the modern world, a Westworld employee, Bernard, has multiple sessions with her where he will ask her questions about certain scenarios and then ask her in a maintenance mode how she got the answer she provided, mainly asking her if she has ever doubted the nature of her reality. They do this because they're trying to figure out how her code in her mind is working and also possibly fix it to get her back on track and in character to the farm girl she is supposed to be mimicking. I think you can all see where I'm going with this. You see, I don't believe that these therapy sessions are therapy sessions at all. I believe that they are interrogations conducted by Fazbear Entertainment to gauge the responses of Vanessa, who is being controlled by some kind of virus. I will get to this in a bit. And Patient 46, who I believe is the mimic, or some beginning stage of the mimic, that was supposed to be mimicking one particular person but backfired. Now everyone just wait, don't click off the video yet, let me explain. I'll try and make this as clear as possible, but I'll be real, I don't know how Matpat or John from FNAF or Dawko or anyone even plan out any of their theory videos to make any sense, but I will try my best. So let's start at the beginning. Vanessa, possibly one of the most unlucky people in this franchise, play tested a VR game with hidden tapes in it that documented the development and the appearance of an entity we once knew as Glitchtrap. Vanessa unknowingly put these tapes together, thus forming Glitchtrap, who then tries to merge with her and escape. However, this doesn't happen on the first attempt. This Glitchtrap entity then begins to learn more from the game, to try and trick Vanessa into letting him enter her mind. Because it isn't Glitchtrap at all, it is the Mimic AI software that learns and imitates things it sees and interacts with, which in this case happens to be the tapes that are left behind in the game that are locking him away. The Mimic rewrites the last tape, making it seem like they can be defeated, but in reality, they have just tricked Vanessa into letting them into her mind. While this Mimic virus was learning inside the VR game, they realized that William Afton's personality was only going to get them so far, and they picked up another personality in there, that of his daughter Elizabeth, or more specifically Baby. Following me still? So as we move into Retro CD 1, instead of thinking about it as Vanessa is corrupted by Glitchtrap or William Afton, think of it as Vanessa corrupted by Baby. It starts to make a bit more sense. Vanessa, who has worked with this quote-unquote therapist before in the past, has accidentally let Elizabeth's backstory flood into her mind. Thus she tells the therapist that her parents were in a custody battle, that her dad's name was Bill, and that she's always followed what her dad said. The therapist knows that Vanessa's mind has been corrupted by the Mimic program because it was Fazbear Entertainment that put it into their game to begin with, and is trying to figure out what kind of hold it has on her, and maybe even who it is mimicking inside of Vanessa's head. Each question is being asked to gauge responses. Questions about if she likes dark basements or not, that one was answered by the Baby Mimic. Question about if she wants candy, that was answered by Vanessa. The ink blot tests, more of trying to gauge who is in control and how much control they have. This also makes the Vanny suit make some more sense too. This isn't William Afton trying to make Vanessa like him. This is Baby trying to carry on her father's work and make her dad proud.
I will make you proud, Daddy.
Hell, we might even be looking at the name Vanny wrong. We all kind of assumed that it was Vanessa plus Bunny, because that's what Glamrock Freddy tells us in Security Breach. But what if it was Vanessa and Baby? We can even get design specific with it too. Of course Vanny has red eyes and one of Baby's main colors is red, but look at the patches on Vanny's costume. Gray rectangular patches on her arms and legs. Hello, Baby literally has that in metal form. The more I thought about this, the more it started to make sense. And the entire time Fazbear knows. They put this program into her mind and are trying to see how effective it is and conduct experiments. But what led them to putting all this in motion in the first place? Well, So I know me saying Patient 46 being a version of the Mimic program is maybe not something new. I honestly am not sure. While doing research, I only found one post on Reddit that floated this idea from Defiant Confusion 32, but they took this into a bit of a different direction than I'm about to, as they connected it to Gregory. I still wanted to give them a shout out anyways though. We are on the same wavelength here, although mine might get more complicated, so stay with me here. In the Tales books, we learn that there are multiple versions of the Mimic program. One that Edwin originally made to mimic his son and play with him before his son died, and he beats the bot with a metal rod. Which just sounds absurd, but it does happen this way. And two, a Mimic program that Fazbear tinkered with using Edwin's code, which they put into the Storyteller tree and Tiger Rock. While I don't think the Mimic programs from the book are a one-to-one comparison in the game, seeing as there's no giant Storyteller tree in the Pizzaplex when we play Security Breach or Ruin, but I do think that we are dealing with multiple iterations of the Mimic program, including one made by Fazbear. Or at least one other iteration of it. I believe that the Mimic program in Vanessa's head was the one that Fazbear tinkered with and purposely transmitted to Vanessa for experiments. The one that is the game's version of the Mimic program, originally made by Edwin for his dead son, is Patient 46. But in this case, it was actually designed in mind to create a Mimic version of Elizabeth Afton / Baby. Why do I think this? Well, let's look at the books again. Once Edwin throws metal rods with the Mimic, Fazbear end up collecting it and taking it back, later to include in the construction bots that were sent to help clean up the pizza place under the Pizzaplex. What is also under the Pizzaplex? Well, as it turns out, a lot of things, but let's keep it simple here. The sticky note room. It has been theorized for a while that the binary on the sticky notes in here represent a machine learning and coming to life. And with all the doodles and imagery pointing to birthday parties, everyone assumed that it was the crying child being reborn here. But I took a second look over this room in the mindset of it being Baby, and I found some interesting things. Other than the drawings of an ice cream cone and the writing that just says ice cream, I found this note that says all for me, which everyone kind of assumed meant the party was for me, pointing to the crying child. But it actually made me think of this one line from Sister Location.
Didn't you make her just for me?
And also looking over more of Elizabeth's lines, she talks a lot about how Baby blows balloons and how she wants to go play with her.
Daddy, she can make balloons! Just once let me go play with her.
But what about all the other drawings that point to the crying child? Well, this is an AI program built to learn things. So as it continues to learn about Elizabeth and her family, including their past, it might start to learn about her brothers as well, and her mother and father. But of course, this AI can't go unchecked, so it enters our lovely quote-unquote therapy sessions. In our first CD, Encountering Patient 46, there are a few things to point out. One, Patient 46 does not talk. In the Tales books, the Mimic also does not talk at first. It uses hand movements to communicate with David. The therapist maybe knows that this Patient 46 Mimic can talk, but is choosing not to for some reason during their sessions. So she brings it up and tells Patient 46 that she could get in trouble and may even be put in a corner. Patient 46 thinks this is funny, and this is a great time to point out the room full of the disappearing baby plushes that laugh at you with a chair facing the corner, looking like someone has been in a timeout there. For no reason at all, of course. After the CD, the therapist goes missing, which we can assume was Patient 46's doing, which also lines up with what the Mimic is shown to be doing in the books that got it locked up under the Pizzaplex in the first place. Moving on to CD 4, what I mainly want to highlight in this is two things. One, of course, the mention of how the chair doesn't fit Patient 46, which could be because Patient 46 believes it is Elizabeth, who is a child, or even Baby, who is a 7-foot clown robot. Either way, the chair not fitting them works. And then most importantly, this is where the hacker allegations come into play, and where I want to bring us back to Westworld again. You see, in the show, there is a character named Maeve, who might be my favorite character in the whole series, but Maeve starts to figure some things out during her day-to-day when she starts to have memories of previous days where she has gotten killed, and then just woke up in her bed perfectly fine the next morning. This is because she is a robot. She starts to get suspicious, so she purposely gets herself broken, so she has to be taken in to get maintenance done. And when she is being worked on, she wakes herself up. She does this often and manages to get a hold of one of the tech's control panels and increases her smarts, editing her own code and hacking into the park's system to try and uncover more of what's going on. What if this is exactly what the mimic program running in Patient 46 is doing? And of course, this therapist gets himself got by the next time we see Patient 46 in CD6. Few things I want to point out about this CD is that Patient 46 takes a candy, and there were drawings of candy in the sticky note room. Just a small detail, but what struck me in this CD was the therapist saying that when Patient 46 talks about their past, it's almost like they are reading a story, which makes sense if it's coming from an AI program. And Fazbear Entertainment will want to discuss this with their AI programs, as this could cause them to feel less authentic and more robotic. The therapist is even telling Patient 46 how to overcome this by asking itself questions about this past to try to process it and understand it. By the time we reach CD8, we can see that Patient 46 has properly adapted these memories of the past and has told the therapist that they feel sad and scared, to which the therapist tells them exactly what they should feel, like there is a hole that feels funny, and then introduces more questions to gauge responses. The 13th CD is more of this, as Fazbear is starting to see what was once a mimic program that was created to be an AI replica of Elizabeth is becoming more hostile, and has yet another one of these therapists killed. This CD is all about gauging responses, as Fazbear knows that they are losing control over the mimic program inside of Patient 46. CD 14 has a few things in it, including more evidence that Patient 46 can hack into files, as the techs at the Pizzaplex believe that they have been hacking into their files and programs, which is something the mimic would be capable of. But the main thing I want to bring up here is the connection to Patient 46 and Vanessa, specifically through these encrypted messages. I didn't touch on it much before, but in Vanessa's CDs, it is also explained that she is talking to someone through encrypted messages. And I think Patient 46's mimic program is talking to the mimic program in Vanessa's head, which, as you remember, I said is also mimicking Elizabeth.
I saw in your file that you have developed software programs that talk to you in repeat phrases, right? The program asks you questions and prompts you for responses. It's kind of like your own self-therapy, isn't it? Another way of talking to yourself to work things out, right? It felt like I was watching someone go back and forth in their own head.
This would make sense if it was two programs meant to mimic the same person talking to one another. But both were fed different information from two different versions of Elizabeth, and thus, as the therapist says, it seems like they are talking to someone else.
At first, I thought I was looking at more examples of you just talking with yourself. Then I realized it was different. When I study this, it sounds like there is someone else responding to you.
And of course, having come close to the truth, this therapist gets got. CDs 15 and 16 kind of tie this all together. In CD 15, we hear that Patient 46 is communicating with someone in the Pizzaplex, which we can assume is Vanessa, with it being explained that there is a shot of them talking to someone with rabbit ears, and it is revealed that they are the ones manipulating Vanessa. We always knew from the beginning Vanessa was a reluctant follower, but she is now being overpowered by the mimic program in her head and Patient 46's program as well, with both of them working to have Vanessa be the human host to carry on their father's work. Albeit both of these mimic programs have now learned other traits, leaving them with a twisted, more violent version of Elizabeth/Baby as their personality. Also in this CD, it is mentioned that Patient 46 sees the inkblot test as a mask, and specifically points out disguises, which of course the mimic is all about in both the books and Ruin 2. CD 16 has a very important line that I want to point out, where the therapist is explaining the glitch that Patient 46 has infected the system with, saying,
"What I understand is that the glitch stopped being a glitch and turned into an intentional set of subroutines that were aimed at creating the same thing the glitch created. Those subroutines seem to have come from you."
which to me sounds like this virus Patient 46 uploaded turned into an actual program that is now mimicking the same thing the glitch created. The rest of the CD I interpret in this way. The therapist is trying to reason with Patient 46 with the mimic program inside of them, trying to get information out of them to see exactly who it has become and what it is trying to do. When this doesn't get a response, they try to throw the program for a loop. All that tragic past that it was taught, that it learned how to feel, it isn't real. In fact, the therapist convinces them that it's the opposite, maybe even in one last attempt to get this program to change its mindset. But of course, that doesn't work. So the therapist seems to have their fate sealed. Now, I know that was a lot. Thank you so much for sticking with me this far, if you have. It means the world to me. Like I said, this is my first ever fully fleshed out FNAF theory, and even if you leave this video thinking I'm spouting nonsense, it means a lot to me that you watched it, or even clicked on it.
Lost your mind. You've lost your goddamn mind, Charlie!
Will it be as good as my game theory Reddit post? No, I don't think it will. But hey, at least I tried. And if this theory sucks, you can blame Matpat for giving me the false confidence to make it. But before I do go, there was just a few things I wanted to add onto this in the end here. One being that if this is the situation in some universe and Patient 46 is the mimic, this would also make sense on how Vanessa, who we have theorized is helping Gregory at the end of Ruin, knows about the mimic and worked with Gregory to make Mexies, to keep the mimic sealed away, as Vanessa would have been communicating with both a mimic program affecting her mind and one that's in a physical form talking to her. She likely also knows how dangerous it is because she has witnessed it potentially kill countless therapists. And the last thing I wanted to touch on is just something I want to throw out there into the world. If we think of Vanny being a combination of Vanessa and Baby, the secret claw machine ending at the end of Help Wanted 2 has a very different meaning. It might not be Vanessa finally slaying the glitch trap / William Afton mimic program or whatever. It could be Baby realizing she doesn't need her father and can carry on his legacy of murder and chaos herself. After all, in the Frights books, she is shown to be the big bad, even stronger than William. Not to mention, to even get to that ending, we have to go through the sister location bunker elevator. But who knows? That's just a theory. And with all that being said, thank you again for checking out my video. I don't want anyone to take this extremely seriously. It was just something I have been thinking about and wanting to make and throw my Freddy Faz hat into the ring with. I'm not saying anything I said today was factual lore at all, because honestly, I don't know who Patient 46 is. Maybe Patient 46 is the friends that we made along the way. But it's fun to make theories and think about the lore of a series as complex and highly discussed as this one. If you like this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Hit the bell, do all those silly little things to help support my channel as I try to post videos every week. And who knows, maybe if I don't get my head and limbs ripped off or beat with a metal rod in the comments, I'll make more theory videos in the future. Until then, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!